Marijuana addiction. What's going on, Secoya Nation? Dr. Schilling bringing today's wellness wisdom. We're talking about some of the broad strokes as far as what can cause a person to become quote-unquote addicted to marijuana. So as we talked about yesterday with addiction in general, we want to honor the person who's going through this and understand that it's not a vice that they're experiencing. It's literally something they're doing to help themselves process a challenging situation. And so lead with love and meet them with compassion, because it's really important that they feel nurtured and things like that. We've worked with people in the past, whether it's been alcohol, marijuana. In this case, we're talking about marijuana, but it's as I'll explain in a minute, it's a process of saying, what am I uncomfortable with, and what am I using to help myself feel less uncomfortable with that. And so we just want a quick shout out to Yvette for giving us this subject matter. I did yesterday, I mentioned her, but really she asked about this in alcoholism, so we'll be doing alcoholism next. And just to give you an idea of what's going on, because these affect a lot of people. I think that marijuana is less addictive than alcohol per se in some circles, but other circles it's more pervasive. So thanks, Yvette, for providing us this subject matter. So from a QNRT standpoint, basically, think of marijuana as providing a person a false sense of assurance. So it takes away the tension in life and just allows you to relax, be like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. For any of us who have ever used medicinal herbs, it gives you a sense of assurance. It gives you a sense of calm and peace. And so what it'll do is, for example, if you're going through like a difficult breakup in a relationship, or some separation, it could be a husband and wife, it could be a couple, gay, lesbian, transgender, all of our friends out there. It doesn't matter who you are, what orientation you are, you're going through a breakup. And that could be a friendship, it could be an intimate relationship, but it helps you feel less stressed about your identity in that process of separating. So it gives you that sense of assurance, that sense of reassurance, like, oh, everything's going to be fine. I know who I am, even if I need this right now to help me feel that way. But it helps a person when they're in search of themselves. So if you feel lost and you're like, I don't know, all the outside noise and all the societal strains and stuff like that, all the opinions are affecting you, then what happens is you start to lose yourself, and you start saying, well, why did I come to this planet? Why did God put me on this earth to experience this? What am I going through? And people can, sometimes if they have, as I mentioned in the previous video about when I was depressed at one point, suicidal ideation, not going through with it clearly, but having thought about it, it's like, should I choose to live? Like, what is my purpose while I'm here? What am I doing that for? So marijuana allows us to not feel the intensity of that, and it gives you some space and some clarity, and gives you a chance of like distancing yourself from that. So interestingly, when I was doing research for this, when a woman released an egg from her ovary down her fallopian tube into the uterus, there's actually a cannabinoid. If you don't know what cannabinoid is, look it up. Cannabinoid, cannabinoid. If you don't know about CBD oils, that's what cannabinoid is. So there's actually a mechanism that causes the egg to implant in the uterus, and it's a cannabinoid, interestingly enough. And marijuana is considered, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, please comment below if I am, is part of the cannabinoid family. There's CBDs with THC and CBDs without THC, but what happens is like that causes the egg to implant. And so it's like, that's a connection to who we are and how we implant ourselves in life. So later on, like oftentimes you'll hear about teens going through puberty or these big transitional periods, and they're talking about, who am I? How do I fit in? Do I implant now? Things like that. And sometimes they can even feel like they're feeling so ostracized and different from their parents that they feel like they're going to get pushed out, or they're getting kicked out, or not physically, but just like emotionally. So then they do something like smoking marijuana in order to find a way to implant again. Okay, so then there's something to keep them there, something to keep them safe, something to keep them in the house, because the uterus is the house, right? So if they imbibe in marijuana, they can implant them back in the house, and it can be a reason why the nest is protecting them again. So these are just some of the things that come up, right? And these are not the end-all, be-all. Obviously, if you have things out there to share with, we'd love to understand your perspective and what you think is cause and or contributing factors. Because there's many things, like no one thing causes any one thing, and no one thing fixes any one thing. So for you, if you deal with this type of thing, or you know someone who does, you have to consider, how can they see themselves differently? How can they view themselves differently? How can they become more self-assured? How can they become more solid and firm in their identity? That's when you see someone step out of using marijuana as a tool to cope with life, and more as, just it'll be unnecessary. So, if I hope that serves your purpose. We mentioned yesterday, if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, click, share it with your friends, because if you share this message, it can enlighten somebody else and can change their lives. You never know what one small thing can do to change someone else's life. People think, I can't have an impact on the world. Well, absolutely. Sharing this could possibly change someone's total life. It could save a relationship between a parent and a child. It could do amazing things. So I just want to empower you to do that, and you can change the world. So appreciate the opportunity to serve you. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Wellness Wisdom. All right, guys, have a great night.